Welcome to the AI Founder Files at ChatGTT, the official YouTube channel of GTT Data Solutions. Today we are thrilled to host Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, Chairman of GTT Data Solutions and a visionary leader with a remarkable legacy in digital innovation, leadership and social impact. From leading Aptech and Zensar to record-breaking success to shaping national conversations through NASSCOM and Confederation of Indian Industry, Dr. Natarajan brings decades of insight and inspiration. He's also the mind behind the 5F philosophy: fast, focused, flexible, friendly, and fun signature leadership style. Join us as we explore his journey, his vision for GTT, and what the future holds for technology and human potential. Let's get started. Welcome to our show, Ganesh.
Thank you very much, Ronita.
We are very honored to have you here with us, and you're doing some fantastic work in the space of dual intelligence, artificial intelligence. And today, our conversation will be on that line where we want to see you take us through your journey, where you have dwelled in so many spaces of technology and digital transformation. So, Ganesh, my first question to you is that you grew up in a little village in Bihar, and then you are now leading national and multinational boards. So, what are some of the key lessons that you would like to share with us from that journey itself?
Ronita, I'm glad you reminded me because, yes, I did grow up in a little village called Tatisilwai, which is about 10 kilometers from Ranchi. Those days, Bihar, and now, of course, the capital of Jharkhand. And I remember because we had 5 villages around us. And why was I there? Because my father was running a factory called Waxpol in that village. And my best friends were all from the village. And I did a TED talk just about, when was it, 8 years back, where the title of my TED talk was Fantush and the Beanstalk. Fantush was my little village friend. And my reflection then and now is that so many people in Bharat, in India, just don't get the opportunities to grow and succeed that I got. And my success story was purely because of education. So I think that's one thing that is kind of striking me, that education, skills, where I do a lot of work these days, is probably the reason for the differentiation. But you're right. I mean, I had a lot of lucky breaks. I remember I joined a manufacturing company, then did my own startup for 3 years, then joined this company called NIIT. And at the age of 32, I got headhunted to be Aptech CEO. And that was probably before I was ready. But we had a real fun time building that organization. And since then, Aptech, Zensar, 5F World, which is our investment company, and now GTT Data Solutions. So it's been a roller coaster ride, but it's been wonderful because you're new experiences all the time, experimenting with new technology, and always working with people to make sure that they succeed in any new business.
Ganesh, your journey has been phenomenal, needless to say that. And I am reminded of a quote by Winston Churchill here, where he says that success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that matters. Now, on that note, you've had a track record of 3 incredible success stories that we are all aware about, which is Aptech, Zensar, and Lighthouse. So, is there a common thread between the 3? And what were your greatest takeaways from these 3, success stories that you have built?
The common thread is something that I've always felt is important for individuals, for companies, and for society. And that common thread is innovation. And let me give you a slightly longer answer to explain that. When I joined Aptech, we were, significantly smaller than the market leader, NIIT. And there were a clutch of little companies, literally in the 4 to 5 crore bracket, which were struggling against the leader. And we kind of thought to ourselves, saying, how do we differentiate? And in those days, the opportunity to differentiate was to grow much faster. And the classical model in those days of computer education was somebody set up a brand like NIIT, and then they set up multiple centers in multiple cities. And in smaller cities, they found franchisees, or what we later call business partners, to take the brand forward. We decided to topple that model entirely, and we said we will not set up any of our own centers. We already had 7, so we continued them as kind of role model centers. But we said our entire growth will be through business partners. So while our competition chugged along and added maybe 100, 200 centers, within 10 years, we moved from 7 centers to 1,400 centers in 42 countries, in 24 of which, including China, we became the market leaders.
Okay.
And also Pakistan, by the way. So it's quite interesting to see that a slight change in the business model got us to be extremely innovative and very successful. Then, as everybody knows, is public knowledge. Not only were we listed on the Indian Stock Exchange, we also listed on the London Stock Exchange. And that's when I left Aptech and moved to Zensar. Very similar story, but different context, because Zensar was a little 40 crore company, and we were trying to compete with the likes of the TCSs and the Infosys and the Wipro. And again, we asked ourselves a question saying, how do we compete? And this was 2001. I mean, this was when the dot-com bust had happened and the industry was not doing well. A couple of months before Osama bin Laden did this amazing devastation in the World Trade Center in New York. So we sat down and said, look, how can we differentiate? And we had a very bright CTO who we had just recruited from Silicon Valley. And I asked him, Dilip, how do we differentiate? He said, look, let's put out the story that we are a very different software company, because all software companies do programming, and we will be a programmerless programming company. Wow. Now that was our innovation. Okay. How did we do that? We actually created a methodology of automated code generation. I mean, today with ChatGPT and AI, it's kind of par for the course, but in those days it was unique. So what we created, called Blueprint Foundry or solution blueprinting, was a method by which somebody could give you a specification and you could generate code in .NET or Java or whatever language almost at the drop of a button. So that was very unique. It got us into conversations with some of the biggest companies on the planet, including Cisco, Marks and Spencer, Fujitsu, etc., and really set the basis for our growth. And I'm glad to say that Zensar, in the last 5 years of my tenure, from 2011 to 2016, grew market value at 44% per year. So it was quite a record in the industry. So that was successful. And finally, you mentioned Lighthouse. Lighthouse, for those of you who are not aware, is a social venture. It's called Lighthouse Communities Foundation, which we set up in the city of Pune. And now we are not only in Pune, but various parts of Maharashtra, Hyderabad, UP, in Lucknow, we're just starting. Similarly, Delhi, Odisha, etc. So it's becoming a national brand. And again, very similar, because the classic thinking in the social sector is we'll remain small, we will try and do great stuff, we don't want to partner with anybody. But we said, look, scale in this country will happen only if we are joined to the hip with government. So today, if you look at the 46 lighthouses we have in the country, all of them are supported either by the state governments, in the case of Delhi and Odisha, or the municipal commissioners of the municipal corporations, as in the case of Mumbai and Delhi and Aurangabad and Pune. And it's kind of led us to a level of scale and successful partnering with philanthropic organizations, corporate social responsibility funds, and the government, which has made us very successful. So that's why I said it's going to be a long answer. But if you take the Aptech story, yes, which was business model innovation, take the Zensar story, which was product innovation, and take the Lighthouse story, which is an ecosystem innovation, I think innovation is a common thing. So my belief is that, if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. But if you need order of magnitude growth and better business results, you have to innovate.
Thanks, Ganesh. And I think no wonder you're known in the market today as the leader in the innovation field.
Thank you.
And going back to the Zensar journey that you've had, we are aware that at Zensar you achieved a record-breaking growth by focusing on clarity, culture, and once again, your favorite term, innovation. What were the key decisions or philosophies that enabled such sustained growth?
Well, as I said, one was the way we approached. I remember, 2001 when I joined Zensar, and that time I had already come from a very successful publicly listed company, Aptech. So the first thing I did was call my friends in the stock market and said, how should we build this business? And the natural wisdom I got was that, look, don't try and be a large company. Okay? Just focus on a few things. Also, don't try and attack the top clients, because those are already reserved, if you will, for multinationals and TCS and IBM, Infosys, etc. So go for smaller clients and do one or two things and don't do everything. So I remember sitting down with my leadership team, 20 people at that time, and I said, what's our vision as an organization? So first they told me we should only work with large clients. All our clients, or most of our clients, should be Fortune 500 clients. The second they said was, look, we should have a follow the customer approach, which means we should never say no to a customer. Now, if you look at it, in both these were exactly contrary to the stock market wisdom. But we said, if that's what our leaders want, let's go ahead and do it. And that's what we did. So I think we also adopted a very successful approach called vision communities, which Harvard Business School has written a very successful case about. And the idea being that all ideas will emanate from throughout the organization. Yes. There is no holy leader or CEO who can give the vision for the company, but it should emanate from within. And we adopted a culture called 5Fs, which even today is the name of my company, 5F World, that I also run, apart from being chairman of GTT. And 5F was to be fast, focused, flexible, friendly, and fun. And that's a cultural tenet that really stood us in time, because in an environment where companies were reporting 18-20% attrition of people, our critical talent attrition was as low as 1.8%.
Okay.
People never left because they had so much joy in building the organization, not because we paid the best or anything like that, but it was just, you're on a mission together and make that happen. So I think that the whole vision community idea, the whole idea of that, look, we will work together and there'll be no kind of distinctions between hierarchy and designation, etc. I think that's what made us successful. And my belief is that all organizations today, especially where young people are, very vociferous about what they want and what they expect, are going to succeed if they make that happen.
Wow. So the 5F is a signature leadership style that we've all heard
Yes,
about,
it's kind of
Ganesh.
become that.
Yes, and now coming back to those 5Fs, we are really keen to know that how did that philosophy originate? When you came up with the 5F and the terms, which is about fast, focused, flexible, friendly, and fun, how did you get this idea, and how has it transpired in the business and the social sector that you've been part of?
I think my original inspiration must have come from, a Harvard guru I had, who also taught me in Harvard Business School, Rosabeth Moss-Cantor. I think Rosabeth wrote something like 5F. I don't remember it was 5F, and I remembered that. Okay, and so I said, let's look at that as a proposition. It appealed to me because throughout my life, my attempt has always been to be friendly. The problem in any hierarchy, in this country, whether it's political leaders or business leaders, we kind of give an aura which is not justified to the leaders of the company. Anybody who sits in a cabin is seen as out of bounds and people don't talk to them, etc., etc. But I've actually not believed in. I believe very much in open offices. But the idea is that people should be accessible.
Yes.
Who am I to believe that I am superior to somebody because they joined the organization 2 years back? So, which is why this friendly and flexible kind of approach has always helped. And I think it evolved. Fast was, if you think about it, it's a sequence that makes sense. Companies cannot succeed unless they grow fast.
Yes.
Okay, and they have to have a strong focus because one cannot be all things to all people. At the same time, you cannot let opportunities go unaddressed, which is the flexibility part of it. And then the friendly and fun are obviously people dynamics. Okay, friendly is extremely important. Fun is not a word that people use very often in the context of organizations. But I believe that's very important. And I think that's also what we're trying to practice in GTT data to make sure that happens. And one thing we didn't put in, I remember the Harvard case study happened because of a conversation I had with my favorite professor from Harvard, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years back, David Garvin. And David and I were kind of flying back from, I think it was from Boston to New Delhi many years ago. I'm talking about probably 2012 or 13. And that's when David asked me, saying, what is the real, if I ask you for one word which you use to build Zensar, what would that be? And I was feeling a little humorous, so I said, love. He said, are you serious? Do people use words like love in organizations? I said, absolutely, David. You come and experience it. So obviously, David sent a team. Harvard takes case studies very seriously. So a team from Bombay and Boston came down. We first made sure, of course, that all the people who were part of the love culture were the first to meet them. And then they met a few other people. And if you read the case, it's all about how 70% of the people totally subscribed to that, unwritten word love, but their bonding was very, very strong. So I think, that's the elixir of success, that you can't, fear as a concept doesn't work. Okay, formality also doesn't work in today's context. So how do people love everybody else and love the organization? And it's a very different method. When I spoke about it in a very formal setting, I remember the ambassador in Germany asked 3 of us to come and talk about our method of building organizations. So I spoke about it, and you could sense that people were incredulous, because people talk market share, opportunity, etc. Nobody talks about love, and it almost sounds like some sadhu has come and trying to preach them. But once people start practicing that, and love is a euphemism for friendliness,
yes,
informality, etc., and that makes things happen.
Very beautifully articulated, Ganesh. And I now would like to move towards your journey with GTT Data Solutions now. So, as chairman of GTT Data Solutions, how are you steering the organization in an era which is defined by artificial intelligence and digital transformation? So, what excites you most about this phase?
See, what excites me first of all is the journey we've had in GTT. As many of you are aware, GTT was a company called Global Talent Track. It was set up by me and my wife Uma 11-12 years ago. And that was when I was the CEO of Zensar and my wife Uma was the CEO of ZTV and then of She was the chief of corporate development in HSBC globally. So there was no reason for us to set up a startup. But I mean, she was getting bored of large organizations. And she said, why not? And in one of those unusual circumstances, GTT was fully funded by Helion Ventures and Intel Capital even before Uma resigned from HSBC. So that was her credibility in terms of the skill space. So I think for about 8 years, we just grew the skills business. 2 million young people in this country have been trained, owe their jobs to GTT. GTT Foundation was started, which were helping companies with a large corporate social responsibility budget to actually be, I mean, even people below the poverty line were actually getting impacted, women entrepreneurs, etc. So that is when we met Gopal Patwardhan, our CEO, who is the founder of SMCV Capital. And he came up with this idea saying that, look, I mean, obviously you guys are doing great work with building human intelligence, but the future is going to be about, human beings, collaborating with technology, which was my background as well. So he and I actually came up with this idea of how do we get a company together, okay, which builds the best of, let's say, data engineering, of analytics, of artificial intelligence, combined with human intelligence. So the whole genesis of dual intelligence came because we came from a human intelligence background, but we bought into or collaborated with companies which were very much technology capable. And today, if you look at the 7 companies that are together in GTT Data Solutions, they've become very seamlessly joined at the hip. For the simple, it's not like 7 different companies working together. It's one entity, GTT Data Solutions, with the vision of being a market leader in dual intelligence. And we know we can make it happen. So even the recent successes we've had with organizations have shown us that there is a real market need, because, I mean, everybody talks about AI, yes, but how many leaders get AI? Okay, and how many people know that they have to work with AI? You can't ignore it. At the same time, you have to master AI so that AI doesn't take over your function. You manage with AI. So that's the whole vision we have. And we know it can be done because it's absolutely required for the corporate sector. And even as countries grow, it'll be required for society.
As you just mentioned that dual intelligence is now a core concept at GTT, how do you define the relationship between the human and machine intelligence, and why is this synergy essential for the future of enterprise success, Ganesh?
See, it's a very symbiotic relationship in the sense, if you look at let me first give you the evolution of AI as it is today. It started with data, okay, and even today people don't manage data extremely well. But if you look at what they call the DIKW continuum, which is data becoming classified and presented in an understandable format, as information. Information with some context, in the sense that why is this information important to us in this context or in this situation, becomes knowledge. And knowledge, when it's embedded across an organization, becomes wisdom. Okay, so you keep that construct in mind. So how did it evolve? I mean, when we started looking at information systems, what used to be called MIS or management information systems, and started making, at the end of every month, a materials manager will get what are the slow moving, non-moving items, and what should he do about inventory management. Now, this is all what we call presentation. So good presentation, pie charts, etc., easy to understand, but it's still in the realm of what is called descriptive analytics, which means it is good information presented about the past. Okay, so that's past knowledge. Then people started saying that, look, how wonderful it would be if we can use that past knowledge to define what will happen in the future and what should our actions be. So we moved from descriptive analytics to predictive analytics and then to prescriptive analytics, and which was done by handling large amounts of data, what is called machine learning. So machine learning and then artificial intelligence enabled us to predict better. And AI, of course, today is able to prescribe better, in the sense, and Amazon can tell you that, look, this is a book we suggest you read because people like you have read it. So it's prescribing, why don't you buy this book? And more often than not, you fall flat for that kind of a suggestion. Okay, so that is the evolution of AI. But to answer your question, now it's there. Okay, in fact, I was attending a wonderful talk in New York by this amazing professor called Yuval Noah Harari, who wrote these great books, Sapiens, Homo Deus, and recent book called Nexus on AI. And Professor Harari's idea is that, look, if you're not careful, AI will become what is called artificial general intelligence, AGI. It can become a super intelligence which will take over your function, because slowly, without knowing it, you will abdicate and not delegate everything to AI. And then AI will start taking the decisions and you will kind of just fall for it and say, let it happen. I mean, I'm already seeing that, look, people who think that they're writing books First, we'll put it to a Meta or a Chat GPT,
Yeah.
and they'll get 2,000 words from Chat GPT. Now, I use that capability myself for books, but when I read something and then I sit back, reflect, use my own judgment, and write. But what stops anybody from just picking it up, not even editing the commas, and just putting it into their book? I'm just saying, as an example.
Yes.
So it's very easy to subjugate yourself to AI, and that's where we're coming. We're saying that, look, how do you, at what touch points do you take control? At what levels do you let the AI take control? And that's a very judicious mix of people and technology. So our own work in GTT data will be to ensure that the solutions we build has human in the loop. That humans will have touch points at various points of time, and we'll also educate right from senior leaders, top management leaders to say how do we use AI to make that happen. So that's the concept of dual intelligence. Not easy. It'll need some psychological understanding. So a lot of the work we're doing with clients today is about working with top management and then helping them to build solutions, build their data marts and data warehouses so that it kind of bubbles up good clean data, and then the data to information to knowledge that I mentioned right at the beginning will make that happen in real life.
What sounds complex, you've made it really sound easy, Ganesh, and you've rightly touched
It's
the chord.
complex.
Yes, but you rightly touched the chord. But now that we are talking about AI, also, increasingly becoming capable of taking autonomous decisions, how do you see the executive leadership and governance adapting to this new reality?
See, first of all, you have to recognize the new reality. But I still meet a lot of people saying, "Oh, we heard this when computers came in. They said all jobs will be lost. Nothing happened. We created new jobs." And even with AI, that's going to happen. And we leave it to. We'll recruit some guy with some knowledge about Chat GPT, and we'll leave that to AI to them. But you cannot do that. So I'm saying, first of all, I mean, you can't be an ostrich with its head in the sand, because you have to look at the environment. And AI is hitting us fast and thick. I mean, yesterday I was in a meeting where somebody was talking about, okay, this is the big AI vision for our organization for the next 3 years. And a young person actually corrected him, saying there is no way you can have a vision for the next 3 years. I mean, you can have, like the kids play with Lego blocks. You create your Lego blocks, but be very open to recreating a picture based on new realities. I mean, just to give you an example, and I mean, there was a time when we just had AI. Then suddenly ChatGPT came in from OpenAI, and generative AI became the rage. Today, generative AI is almost passe, and everybody's talking about agentic AI. Where multiple AI agents can work together. So the question is, be prepared for wave after wave of innovation and change. At the same time, be prepared to manage that better. So I think that is really the agenda that we have to make happen for organizations. I'm doing a talk in IIM Ahmedabad the end of this month, where they were asking me, what do you want to talk about? And I said, look, you're talking about a bunch of leaders at their Center for Leadership in IIM Ahmedabad. And we have to get them through this journey, but they have to think about it and not attend one hour lecture. But we'll make it like a workshop kind of format, because people have to experience what they learned in the past, what they will learn in the future. So it's a journey that all of us have to get onto together, the AI and dual intelligence journey.
Ganesh, often I see that, when you open the newspaper today, there are headlines flashing that so and so company fires so many employees and, adapts to AI technology or AI agents. Now, when we look at the future and we're looking at manpower who are working across different organizations, do we need to get scared? And how is it that we should channelize our manpower and their talent and skilling part in order to adapt to the new world?
See, first of all, let's not pussyfoot this issue. It is a fact that any job which is repetitive can be taken over by AI. I mean, in the manufacturing world, automation took over the factory worker's job. In the white collar world, I think automation in the form of AI can take over literally any repetitive job. So, what does that mean? It means the people whose jobs are at risk are those people who do not or will not or do not understand AI. But if you're working with AI, you can use, that's why I said, a Meta or a Chat GPT or whatever tool you use for hastening your work. So that's kind of making you more productive. At the same time, staying on top of it, you're not going to lose your job. So, but yes, you're right. 80% of jobs, the content will be completely replaced by AI. So there is no longer time for people who do not learn. If you look at Yuval Noah Harari's Homo Deus, the wonderful book he wrote, he was saying that every 15 years, prepare to make yourself completely obsolete. So whatever you learned in college will be obsolete by the time you spend 10 years in your career. So keep learning. So this perpetual process of learning is what will make you stay relevant. Not easy. I mean, the good old
Yeah.
days when somebody said, I'm IIM and I'm set for the rest of my life, is not going to happen. So all of us keep learning to make sure that we're not only staying in the same place, but staying ahead of competition.
Great. And as automation reshapes industries, what strategies do you believe are the most effective in building an AI resilient workforce? And how is GTT contributing to this mission?
I think GTT Data Solutions, I mean, is really an idea whose time has come, because there is no longer place for stale old IT services organizations who are just doing programming and migration, etc. There's also not an area for pure management consultant, because you can give a strategy, but I think the customer says, okay, great, I understand what you're saying, but can you help me make it happen? So I think the reason we have put together this complete network of companies, so right from an entity which is doing retail education, so we have training centers around the country building talent, then corporate training, helping people to learn. That's one side of it. Then we have a software part of our business. We have the data part of the business. We have the analytics part of the business. And we're building this layer of consulting, which actually is a very exciting part of our business, which is dual intelligence and AI layer. So we actually are in a position to hold a company by the hand and say, we will lead you to the promised land. And that promised land is where dual intelligence is driving order of magnitude growth, giving you competitive advantage. And I think that's the excitement we have, that we will make new leaders emerge in virtually every segment of the industry.
So, Ganesh, taking cue from the discussion that we are having today, young professionals are entering a world where artificial intelligence is the collaborator. What mindset and skills should they develop to thrive in this dual intelligence environment, according to you?
I think the mindset they will develop is very open, first of all, because you just cannot afford to stay in the same place. So, what Yuval Noah Harari wrote, that every 15 years you got to completely reinvent yourself, otherwise you're obsolete, is extremely important. So, young people have to say that, look, okay, I've learned something, let me experiment, let me realize that my entire learning will be obsolete maybe in a year's time or 6 months' time, and keep abreast of new technology. So, I think that mindset is very important. And the second is, one problem we have in India, especially, is that, look, we're not very friendly as a community. We have our own close circle of friends, but we don't communicate across. So I think the ability to communicate at all levels in an organization, learn from each other, learn from outside. So I think all that is going to be important. So I think we'll have to change our mindsets, be from being natural introverts to be very extroverted. And I'm saying this not in the context of a party, but in the context of the workplace. And if you do that and you're able to learn from peers, learn from seniors, I think that'd be much better. And as I said, completely look out for new technology, because new technology in the old days used to happen every 5 years. Is going to happen every 5 months or maybe 5 weeks. So continually staying abreast is going to be the mindset.
Great. And coming to the last question of our interview today, looking ahead, what's one bold prediction that you would like to make about artificial intelligence role in leadership and business?
I think India itself, I mean, as a country, I think we're lagging behind. We're lagging behind China. We're lagging behind the US. In some stage, parts of Europe as well, who have taken a lead in terms of research, new technology. So if you look at DeepSeek from China, or you look at OpenAI and ChatGPT or NVIDIA from the US, India is still far behind. Okay, now the government has said that, look, I mean, there is this new large language model that's going to work, etc., etc. Yesterday, I was in the State Bank of India, who, to my mind, is an exemplar. I've never seen an AI roadmap and canvas which is as comprehensive as SBI has. So I think we will start waking up to the fact that we have to do much more. And I think young people are waiting to go. Okay, the technology industry is very, very clear. There is a lot of these deep tech startups that are coming through, which are being funded. So I think as we go along, we have to make sure that we are trying to lead. The time is gone when we could follow and maybe do a lot of services work around it, but we have to build products, build technology, build capability. And I think that is our destiny. And I think young people and organizations have to work together to make it happen. I'm confident India can do it. It's just a question of having the resolve and the determination to make that happen.
Thank you, Ganesh. I think it was so wonderful to hear you out today, and thank you for sharing the wonderful insights and your journey and experience into the world of dual intelligence that we have actually entered. We wish you more success and more milestones in your journey of transforming digitally, not only GTT Data Solutions, but also the way ahead for us.
No, thank you, Ronita. I think we are building a
Lovely to have
wonderful
you.
organization.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure as more and more people join the GTT data client base and the employee base, I think we'll be very successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was Dr. Ganesh Natarajan with us, speaking his heart out in the AI Founders File. And let's see each other in the next episode again.